Hello, everyone. My name is Tim, and welcome to Tim Talks, the show that's only partially a show, but really it's just an excuse for me to talk to some of my very talented friends. And I have another one here with me today. He is a workhorse over at the Rooster Teeth offices. His name is JJ. Say hello, man.
Hello, Internet.
Doing all right today?
Yeah, it's not bad. It's a nice little Saturday. I got to sleep no late, which is always rare. But at some point I'm going up to the studio. We're finishing up short, and so that'll be fun. I don't mind working on Saturdays sometimes. I mean, it's Rooster Teeth, so it's work, but it never really feels like work.
I'm about to say exactly. It's work.
Yeah.
I see. I leave here and I have to go to my real job at 5 and do the actual boring thing where my roommates actually expect me to pay rent for some reason.
So boring.
So, I know, exactly. But, limited time problem, man. Limited time problem. I'm actually, this is something that I broke in the last interview, and I guess I'll tell you too. I'm actually coming to Austin to join you, moving there very soon.
Dude, that's awesome. Where are you staying right now?
Well, right now I'm in Shreveport, Louisiana, and
nice.
I'll be moving over there to take a directing class over at the Austin School of Film.
Oh, cool, man. I have a lot of friends that work up there, so yeah, I look forward to it. We should definitely go out and get some food and some coffee, and I'll show you the Austin sights.
Oh, damn, Skippy.
Yeah.
Last time I was over there for RTX, and we stayed there for 2 weeks, and which is double the time we stayed there in 2012, which was 1 week, obviously, and it was just not enough. Nowhere near enough.
Yeah, no, that's true.
With an opportunity to do something like that, how do you turn down the ability to move to that city?
I've done some time in Louisiana. I did some time. I've gone on tour with some bands there, but also I did some commercials with Toyota, and we shot some of them in Louisiana. And I forget the name of the town, but I remember that it had a paper mill in the middle of town, so it made the whole town just smell awful. And everyone was so used to it.
I believe I've driven through parts like that, and no, I know exactly what you mean. My dad is a millwright out at International Paper in Augusta, Georgia, and no, he comes home not that smell every day. My mother used to call it the smell of money.
I remember we shot this one scene in a high school, and we were in the parking lot getting ready, and we looked, and I guess they were getting ready for a pep rally or something for a football game, and the whole parking lot was just trucks, and they both had the Confederate flags on poles at the back on the trucks, and it was like, we must be in the South.
Gotta love it. You gotta love it, man. Of course, then again, that's everywhere until you get to the 30-mile radius that surrounds Austin.
No, it's true. It's weird. Texas, no. I grew up in some Texas towns, like growing up, when everyone listened to like bad country music.
Yeah.
But what was really funny is that I was such a, I wouldn't say a diplomat, but I had so many different kinds of friends. But I would hang out with like the cowboy hick types because they would go mudding in their trucks, and I was the video camera kid. So they were like, "Hey, we're gonna go mudding. Want to come hang out, drink some beers, and videotape us?"
Hey, you could record that. It'll be great. Woo!
And then all the guys that drove all the import rice burner cars that have all those guys, like the thugs and gangster guys, like they would be like, "Hey, you want to come hang out and film this race?" I'd be like, "Okay, sure." So I had a bunch of weird friends.
I just imagine Vin Diesel. You can come and film, but not today.
I love it.
Yeah, that's really cool. So you've gotten around, as it were,
well, that's the
in
thing
the best
about
possible
video.
way.
Working in video production is it spreads everywhere. Like you could be a league somewhere. You could work in like a law firm, or you could work in a company or whatever. Like video will hit everything. Like everyone needs boat show commercials, and so it's like you end up in some weird places.
Whether it be for business or for pleasure, everyone wants video of some kind. Everyone wants to remember it better than this thing can record.
Well, of course. I remember a few years back, everyone, back when MySpace was all the rage. But no, Justin Timberlake's bringing it back, all right? Everyone knows that.
Well, it's sexy in MySpace. He's trying really hard, man. That's two really big things.
He's committing. But There was a time, and I worked at this music channel, and so bands were always constantly promoting their shows, and it's Austin, so there's a lot of venues and there's a lot of bands playing, and so the comments on the MySpace wouldn't even be people talking anymore, like commenting. It would just be flyers for people's concerts or events, you know. And after a while, like, you see so many of them that you get like you don't even see it anymore. It's just this like blur. So I was like, man, this isn't working. So me and some friends started doing these video flyers where, like, you know, it was like YouTube was still really early. You'd hit play and it'd be this like video talking about the show. And we started having real fun with it. And then like everyone else started doing it.
But the trick is you had to hit play and it didn't just auto pop up when you loaded the page like all the other annoying things on MySpace.
Yeah. Oh, that's why MySpace died, because everyone would customize the shit of it. And 20 songs would start.
Yeah, and the thing is, internet connections were so crappy that by the time it loaded it all, you were already dead.
You know, speaking of going back to video and video editing, can I just say how horrifying this right now is to me? Because I know that it's not going to be edited.
Well, I mean, you know, look, it'll be, if you say something that you want bleep, then I can bleep it. But, you know, for the most part, yeah.
Well, I did shoot JFK. So you should... So you should probably cut that out of the video. So there should be a cut right there.
Yeah, sure. I'll do something like that. I really enjoy doing live stuff because as you have, if you haven't read, by the way, the journal post that I guess the comment thread from the journal post that you made about the story of how you got to Rooster Teeth, and you really should go do that because we're going to kind of use it as bullet points, but I'm not going to have him retell that story because why? Yeah. You have eyes. You can go read. You're smart. I give you more credit than that. You're smart, right? So,
Tim, really
we have a theater.
Quickly,
we both
Tim,
have
do you mind if I drink a beer while we have this conversation?
Please, imbibe your beverage.
Well, and let me just give a shout out to user @Jared and Jared Kent on Twitter, because he sent me a box of a lot of fancy Rhode Island beers, because I love fancy IPAs and ales. So he sent me a huge box, and this is Pretty Things Beer and Ale Project, and I'm looking forward to tasting it. Thank you, sir. Anyway, go ahead.
Awesome. Nice. So, yeah, I was saying we both have a shared theater background. And
True.
Part of what I did was improv stuff and a lot of shows, and I kind of lucked my way onto that. My family tried to pressure me into being a lawyer because when I saw the movie Liar Liar when I was 8, I pointed to the TV and said I wanted to do that. Not knowing that, of course, that was acting.
Yeah, of course.
And so I started college with a pre-law concentration and yada, yada, yada. I got a theater grant that said, hey, if you come and work on a show or, you know, act or something, then we'll give you $1,000 towards your tuition. And I'm like, well, I can do that. And I did, and God, I freaking loved it. I auditioned for the directing classes, 10-minute plays, and then they took me immediately downtown because they needed someone to play Arthur Holmwood in an adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Oh, wow. And so you got bit by the bug.
Very quickly. And it was always kind of obvious because I've always enjoyed telling stories. Yeah. As I'm sure you have. I mean, I
agree.
It's just something that comes out. It's vomit.
Yes.
You can't help it.
Everyone come look and smell my vomit and experience my vomit. I spent a lot of time working on this vomit.
It's unique. It's vomit like no one else has ever made before.
Well, you know, it's funny because I was talking to, like, I've got a bunch of...
A unique vomit snowflake, if you will.
But I know that's fine. I've got a lot of filmmaker friends or, you know, producers or writer friends here in Austin, and, you know, we'll go out and have drinks and you know, just talk our chat and stuff. But I always say, like, really all we are is like, if you really minimized it and went back to like medieval Renaissance times, like all we are the people like traveling from town to town and like telling people stories, like, or even like go as far back as Homer and the Iliad and Odyssey. Like, you know, it's just like gather around, I have a story to tell you. And that's always how it's been for me. Like when I was in high school and I was making like silly music videos and artsy videos, like I would keep them in my bag. And then a lot of times, like in high school, you watch videos a lot. There was always like some video you're watching. So there was always TVs with VCRs. So if there was downtime at the end of class, I'd always be like, "Hey, can we watch my thing? Like, you know, can we watch this?" And
I've got show and tell. I know we don't do show and tell until Friday, but I got show and tell today.
Yeah, so we'd play it, and it's only like 4 minutes or whatever, and we watch it, and people would like really like it. And there's a few music videos I did that were really, pretty crazy for being as young as we were. But I like to sum up how different other people think than us. Is like this one guy I remember because it was Country Town. He was like, his name was Cole, and he was like. So why'd you do that? Was that like for a contest or something? And I was like, no, I just made it. And he was like, so you just made it to make it? So you just made it for no reason? And I was like, I made it for me. Yeah. yeah. So anyway, but all I'm looking for is a crowd of people to show stuff and maybe entertain them for a couple of seconds or minutes or whatever.
And sometimes not even that. I've made the point before, YouTube should be, or even just video production in general. Anything creative you want to do should be largely a rhetorical exercise for at least the first couple of years.
No, I can see that.
It should be just for you. It's a way.
It's a really nice way of telling like new filmmakers, like, don't make people watch this. It's for you. It's for you. It's just for you.
It's for you. Exactly. And it becomes a thing where after you've kind of realized, okay, hey, people aren't going to love my early stuff until way later when my later stuff is amazing and people are like, oh, hey, I have to go see his early stuff. Oh, I can see early derivative stuff of him, that sort of thing. That's when your early stuff becomes big. But to start out with, no one's going to watch.
I think it's really tough, too, because you don't have like a different set of eyes. You're very biased. These are your babies, So I remember... we do this live show here, and also people submit movies, and sometimes we do this event called Bring Your Own Video, where people like bring movies, and we like it. We like it when people bring weird stuff, or like even bad stuff. Sometimes some things are so bad that they're awesome.
Oh yeah,
but like
that's how Mystery Science Theater was born.
Exactly. But the thing is, like,
and Master Pancake. Shout out to Master Pancake
here in Austin
at the Alamo.
Which is a lot of fun. Yeah. But when you make your first couple of movies, you really think you are saying something, and you're really mostly saying something to yourself, like saying like, look what I can do, like, you know what I mean? But yeah, you like torment your family and your friends by making them watch this 20-minute video that could have been summed up in 4 minutes. But you're like, no, man, like. It needs all of it in there. Like, it's all got to be in.
And not just that, but at every step of the way. You're like, okay, this is a rough cut, but I just need you to look at it because I need another pair. Okay, I know that this is like a 4-minute segment, but I just need you to look at this one transition. Okay, I know that you've seen it 100 times by now.
Sometimes it's fun to let someone else cut your stuff. Like, it's always daunting. I'm always weird about, for a long time I hated, and I still do sometimes, hating editing other people's footage because I love shooting myself. So, like, if I'm not on the set, especially, like, because the thing is, when you shoot and edit, it's very frowned upon, apparently. I'm supposed to be the director, the shooter, and editor, but, like, I'm not very conventional and whatever. But when you shoot everything, like, you're editing it in your head, you're like, well, and then when you're sitting down editing, you're like, well, where's that shot of the flower or that shot of, like, the sunlight, that I know that I got, because that would be perfect right here. Whereas when you're, like, editing a bunch of other people's stuff, you feel like it's almost like needle in a haystack kind of thing. So it can be a little bit tough and daunting. But the same way, like, there's been times where, like, Brandon or even, people at RT have, like, edited my stuff and done stuff I didn't expect out of it, and vice versa. Like, I've taken, like, some short footage and like, changed it up, and they're like, oh, wow, like, that actually works, So it's always nice to let people try things out.
Yeah. And it depends on the amount of trust that you have with the other person, obviously the talent of the other person, and whether or not they kind of get what you're going for. Yeah. Because that is some of the hardest parts about editing other people's things, is sometimes you just want to reach in there and wrest control of the camera to be like, no, you idiot, you want to do it from this angle, not this angle, this angle.
I just read an interview with Guillermo, I'm gonna kill his name, Guillermo
del Toro, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you, white guy, for doing it better than me.
Well, you were trying to do it all authentic and stuff, and I just Anglo-Saxonized it.
I can't even
very
roll
quickly.
My R's. I put ketchup on my taco.
Yeah,
anyway, but
Go
you
on.
were saying that he let Alfonso Cuarón, who did Children of Men, he did, I think, My Little Princess and other stuff, but he's a great director. I think he did Itam También as well. But Yeah, he let that guy watch Pacific Rim because he was like, I feel like it's too long. I don't know where to cut stuff, because when you've been there for every step of the way, like you're like, I think it needs all of this, but like he let Alfonso Cuarón sit around and I think he cut like 13 minutes from the movie just from watching it once.
I mean, it's your baby.
Yeah, it's really hard to give stuff up. It's really like you're like, but that joke was so funny on set, and you're like, it was, but it doesn't work in this situation, you know.
Exactly. You need someone who is able to look back and have that greater step back, and have that greater scope.
Yeah, and it's good to have outside input sometimes, and maybe some people calling you out or telling you something isn't working in your head, even if you think, and sometimes it can cause confrontation. Like I did a short film with my buddy Stephen Huff, and it was called Lambs. He directed it, wrote it, I produced it, and I was the DP on it. And I helped edit, and we had some friends score it, and it was this whole thing where, like, you know, there was a decapitation scene, because the whole thing takes place like in the 50s and 60s. It's all black and white. We shot out in the middle of Lockhart. Ryan Lee, who was in it. He was super young. He went on to be one of the lead guys in the Super 8. He was the pyrotechnics.
Oh yeah,
kid.
I thought I recognized him from somewhere.
Yeah, and he's also been in Community, and he was just in This Is 40 with Judd Apatow. But he was in that movie. He was in our movie before he did all that. But there were times where me and Steven would clash, and in the end, the movie was so good. Like we both made compromises. We both looked at everyone's ideas, and it went to Cannes in France, and it won the Hollywood Film Festival, like in the short department, and like it did really well. So, but like sometimes we were like verbally scratching at each other, you know. But but it happens.
As with any good relationship, you have to be able to fight, because it's at the end of the fight, when you come to the conclusion of the fight, that's when you've learned something, and that's when you're able to move on.
Definitely. I definitely believe.
And so if you're not even able to see it to the end of the ruddy fight, what are you even doing? Well,
then also the thing about fighting too, about like films, not just fighting like in general, but like fighting in films, is that like you are showing like that you care that much about making it good.
Yeah.
Like, because if you were just passive about it and just like, oh, okay, sure, we'll do that. Like, then you're just like, let's just get this over with and go home. But you're like, no, I want this to be the best to me. So, yeah, that's definitely.
It has to be done this specific way for this specific reason, and you have to just trust me. And then the other guy's saying the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And exactly, it's all about that communication, but knowing that sometimes egos and tensions will rise, and you have to be able to go beyond that.
Yeah. It's like
for the greater good of the project.
For the greater good. Well, it's like
exactly.
It's like George Lucas. Like, think about George Lucas and why the first Star Wars movies were so.
Oh, do we have to think about?
No, we don't ever have to talk about George Lucas. But I'm going to for 20. And it's let me set the counter. No, fuck it. But the whole thing about the first 3 Star Wars is that George Lucas was nobody. So he was constantly having to compromise, and people saying like, no, like Han Solo shouldn't be a robot, or no, like, you know. So he changed a bunch of things. I think it was Luke Skywalker was originally Luke Starkiller, and like, so he changed. Yeah, so he changed a bunch of things just to please like investors and people working on the movie. And in the end, like, you know, the collaboration and the conflict made really great movies. And then, you know, 30, 20 years later, whenever he did the prequels, like no one said no to George Lucas, because he surrounded himself with yes men who wouldn't
you see
dare.
what happened.
He'd be like, yeah, you need people to call you out every now and then, like to put you in check and make you think, like, is this maybe the best idea?
Someone to keep you grounded.
There you go. It's good to have friends that call you out every now and then.
Exactly. And yes, that does sometimes mean when the creative person gets that train a-going and someone has to derail that train, some lashing out is going to occur.
Oh, it's supposed to, yeah.
But that just shows, like you said, the passion that's felt for the project, the amount of care that goes into every detail, every frame.
Yeah, if I didn't care and I was okay with this being complete shit, then I would just shut my mouth, do it, and take my paycheck or whatever. But you're like, no, like, let's talk it over. Anyway, but I'm glad that
and wanting that level of control is kind of what leads a person to never want to work for another person. It happens.
This is a true story.
And thus start your own stuff.
All right.
Which leads me to my point about your production company.
Yeah, well, yeah. We've done a lot of fun stuff. Did you see the that Rockers Mods video that I did? It was like The girls on motorcycles.
I did.
That was something I wanted to do for a long time. That was something I wanted to do since I saw Natural Born Killers as a kid. I always liked that.
And that was an advert for an event in Austin of the same name.
It was Rockers versus Mods. They have them all over the U.S., but this one they were doing one in Austin, and it's I got kind of roped in because in the last couple years back, I bought a vintage motorcycle and I cafe racered it out and stuff. And there's obviously like a community for that here in Austin. And so I got roped in. They were like, "You do films, we're putting this event together." So I told them, I'll do it, but I want to be able to have say on all of it. Like, I want to be able to do it real artsy and real cool. And I had just gotten done doing a year or so of just doing like fashion videos for designers and doing real artsy kind of stuff. And the cool thing about doing fashion videos versus like films and music videos and joke around videos is that when you do a fashion video, the designer, like, they show up with hair people and like, they have the clothes and makeup people. So like all you have to do is just like shoot them and make them like they already look great. So
exactly.
Really,
all you have to have is the idea at that point. All of the resources are already there.
Yeah. Just have the idea in the eye, and they take care of the rest.
Even for you could be like, "Hey, look, the hair's getting in my eyes. I can't see the frame very well. Can you just take a little off the top?"
Just a little bit. It rubs off. But yeah, no. So,
it is rather nice.
Yes, that video was a lot of fun for me. There's somewhere on the internet, there's a behind the scenes video of how we made that video. And it talks about how we ran into some issues, like the camera, some of the, because we rescreen projected everything. So if you haven't seen the video, people, this is a screen, and this is a screen right there, and then we had a movie playing. We had a movie playing behind the screen, so you could see it on the screen, and then we had girls on motorcycles in front of the screen, so it looked like they were driving, and then we had wind blowing in their hair, and it was really silly. I hope that demonstration helped it.
It's very old school movie projector trick.
It was totally a throwback to old movies, and the whole idea is to not make it look realistic. We wanted it. I like green screen to an extent. I hate using it. I'm an old fashioned when it comes to filmmaking. I love prime lenses. I love sets. I love dollies. I love lights and practical effects on set. And
oh god, practical effect. You said the magic word, practical effects. In an age where everyone wants the perfectness of computer technology, you lose the living quality that comes from real
there's always
models.
This breaking point, too. It's clever and cool at a time. Like, when Jurassic Park came out and the dinosaurs were amazing, and you're like, what is this? And then, CGI got more and more into films, and then in commercials, you had hamsters dancing in a Blockbuster commercial, and it was on TV, and you're like, this used to only be for movies, and it just got more and more widely used, and you get more and more turned off to it.
Right.
It used to be cool, but I remember seeing, I think, one of the Mummy movies, and I think it might have been the one with The Rock, but they showed an army, and it just looked like a bad PlayStation game. Yeah. And it's like that you're looking at zeros and ones. They know that and it's just we just saved a lot of money, and it's was it worth it though? I mean, I guess so, and for time.
And then you have all those people who are like, oh, it ruins the immersion of the movie, and blah 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 blah, which it totally does, because it totally does.
Well, I remember the first time I saw Amélie, and it blew my mind for a lot of reasons, just because the fact that Jean-Pierre Jeunet is a fucking amazing filmmaker, and I got to talk to him at South by Southwest, but his movies are just so beautiful. But the thing is,
I want to be in Austin so bad.
Dude, there's so many festivals, and all your idols are just at a bar afterward, and you can go up and just talk to them, and it's awesome. It's great. I love this city so much. So Jean-Pierre Jeunet, he in Amélie, I remember seeing, it blew my mind because there were special effects. There was CGI, and there were effects in the movie, but they weren't explosions. They weren't aliens. They weren't cars flipping over. They were a harder locket, lighting up in a bag. It was like a film, stills talking to other film stills, and he's lighting up in pockets or whatever. It was the smallest little touch, and that's how CGI should be. Is for the most part, it should just be a salt and pepper, or a spice, to something you're cooking, just to make it a little bit better. You shouldn't ever have to rely, or you shouldn't ever have to lean on it. And so, and it's cool to see foreign films that or from Japan or even China, or just films that just know how to do that the right way.
Yeah. you can tell with those other styles that they focus on different things, whereas American movies tend to focus more on the motion and the action and what's going on, as opposed to the dialogue or the setting or the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
It's completely the opposite.
It's a true story.
And it just makes for those of us who want some more meat to chew on in their movie, it makes for a much better going experience.
Of course. This is a true story. I have to point out right now, you can probably see over my left shoulder, it's a picture of Heath Ledger. And
I've been admiring him this entire interview.
And I'm going to point it out because if I don't, I can imagine the YouTube comments or just people being like, what the fuck? But seriously, but the funny thing about it is, and I have a lot of these things all over the place, but it's a prop from one of the shorts that I made and did, not for RT. This is fun stuff. It's on the internet. I bid you good luck trying to find it. I'm not going to tell you where it is, but I think it's funny to keep these things around. I have a lot of funny things around. Actually, right here I have a letter. I should probably point this out. It's from Audrey Carroll, who is a Rooster Teeth fan, and this is the first letter.
Oh,
shout out to you. This is the first letter or package I ever got at RT. Like this, I also got the beers and stuff from Jared, but this was the first one I ever got. And I should say this, I don't want to, this is such a bummer, but she wrote me a super sweet letter, and she gave me a pin or a button to join, like their friends all have like these pins or buttons, and I have no idea what it looks like, because she didn't put it put it in a padded envelope. So the machine like must have knocked it out of the envelope, so by the time it got to me, it was just a letter. I feel so bad about it. I keep the letter on the wall.
Oh no, Audrey! If you see this, dear, please send him another one, because that is a shame. I don't know if you have to have it specially hand pressed or minted or what have you, but please, that is such a shame. That I feel terrible, man.
It's not your fault, Tim.
So thank you for helping me segue perfectly into your work over at Rooster Teeth, because as you said, people in the YouTube comments will yell at me if you don't talk about the obvious things. So you are one of the assistant editors over there, and you work a lot on the production crew, and you wear a multitude of hats over there. What would you say is kind of the biggest difference between working for yourself, as we've discussed this entire interview so far, versus working at a big production company?
Well, I mean, I've worked on big sets and I've worked in other studios before. Never as fun or creative, obviously, as RT. It's very different. Like the best way to sum it up is like we take our jokes so seriously, and like that comes to when we're spitballing ideas, which could be anything from like what do we make the menu look like on a shorts DVD, you know, like and everyone's just throwing ideas and we're seeing what sticks, right. or shorts ideas and whatever. But I mean, the bottom line is that we're being compensated for our time to work on fun videos, and that's, like I said in my thing I wrote, is it's very rare, and you want to hold on to that. And the thing is, it's nice to be invited to the party. It's nice to be invited to the conversation, like every now, like you know, because you know it's. I've worked on sets before. I've worked on movies where I was like shooting them, making the movie, and I'll be honest, I can't stand working on a set where I don't have some sort of creative input. You know, when you feel like just like one of the lackeys just somewhere on set, you know, like whatever, just shut up while we're filming kind of thing. And so there's this huddle that happens on film sets, and it's like the director, the camera guy, the actors, you know, and they're just saying like
the DP and the producer.
Yeah, and they're usually like trying to figure out like how do we make this scene work, and like, you know, so they'll stop and everyone else is just useless and just like by their lights or whatever, and they're not invited in the conversation, and it's just these guys like, well, what if we put it right here? Yeah, that might work. Or what if oh, that's a good idea, you know, like, so it's like once you have that, like I've directed so much stuff myself, like when like you get addicted to that, you it's hard to be around that and not be able to be a part of that conversation, and it might be greedy, and but that's definitely a truth for me.
Well, I mean, it's that sort of urge, that desire, that vomit that we were talking about earlier. That is what drives you to be great. I mean, the fact that you just can't stand being not in that conversation eventually drives you, gives you the determination, the discipline, and the focus necessary to impress the
but
right
I
people.
will say, going on, see on Rooster Teeth standards, like, actually, it's a lot easier to play smaller roles on sets because, at some point, it's like a rotation. So you're like, okay, I might be rolling, I might be the sound guy on a Slow Mo Guys episode, and I can't really, there's not really much for me to do, but I know that tomorrow I might be doing something completely different, or the next day I might be in complete charge of directing the recap, and
Right.
it's funny, it's like the recap gets, I won't say it's not looked down upon, it's just, like, every now and then we'll throw ideas around. Shout out to Kyle, by the way, because Kyle and I kind of restarted bringing the recaps out of the green screen. We started doing them more out and about, and that's become kind of a thing now. And so I think we're all having a lot more fun. Like, everyone who's done, like, Lindsay did one, like, for GoDaddy on the set, and it was a huge hit. So we're just having lots of fun taking them outside the green screen now.
Yeah, I'll bet.
The recap gets kind of looked upon as kind of like the redheaded stepchild of, like, the videos that we do, because it's like, well, it's just the recap, right? But
Yeah, it's like, of course, I've already seen everything that there is to see Rooster Teeth throughout the week. Why do I need to see a recap?
Well, it's like, why put work into the recap? Because every now and then we'll come up with a really, really funny idea. Like, I wanted, I shouldn't say anything, but because it might actually happen. But Brandon and I, or me and Kyle, will talk about these ideas, and they're kind of like, they're great ideas, but you have to put some work into them. And then at the end of the day, we end up just going, well, it's just a fucking recap, so who fucking cares, But the thing about the recap to me is, I think it's great because you can. Because no one really cares what happens on it so much that you can do whatever you want. You can really have fun with it,
Yeah.
Like, there's no
especially at a company like Rooster Teeth, where most companies, when they don't really care about something, tend to shut it down.
Yeah.
But when Rooster Teeth doesn't care about something, they tend to just give control over to people who do.
Yeah, that's a true story. It's a true story.
And that is a major, major strength in their favor.
Yeah. Yes, it's a true story.
And so are you still able to work on your own stuff while you do Rooster Teeth?
I just had dinner with Jordan last night, actually, and we were just having fancy beers, and what did he ordered? His appetizer was space bacon.
Yeah, that sounds great.
which just turned out just kind of being like a weird ham.
Nice.
It wasn't very bacony. But I guess that's what you get.
It was cheek meat.
It was all right. But I was talking to Jordan about that, and I was telling him how anytime I would start working at a company, my biggest fear, because you're working, like my company before I worked at Rooster Teeth was very boring. It was a workout company, and it really did feel like a job.
Right.
Like and my biggest fear was that I wasn't going to want to edit anything. I wasn't going to want to go home and shoot videos, and I wasn't going to want to make any art on the side. And
because you'd already worked all day.
Exactly. I sat at Final Cut or Premiere station all day, and why did I do that when I want to go home? And the truth is, and it's maybe not the truth for everybody. I see a lot of people that just punch in, punch out, and then they're fine with not making anything personal. They just want to take that check. But I found when I come home, it's liberating to work on something that you have complete control over, stuff you're trying out, maybe camera tricks, maybe you're just doing experiments, with video. Mm-hmm. And it's really fun.
Oh yeah.
It's and that's what I was telling Jordan. I was telling Jordan that whenever because I worked for myself for so many years, and it's so tough because when you work at the same place that your bed is at, it's really hard to get any work done because you don't really take anything too seriously. And whenever I was really young and just moved to Austin, I was working at that diner. And I'd get off 8 in the morning because I was working the graveyard shift. I would schedule my time right because I would say, well, I have to work from this time to this time, and I have to sleep from this time to this time. So I'm going to take this amount of hours and work on the stop motion that I've been working on. And so you really start to schedule your free time to work more on art because you don't have much of it. So you actually end up making more sometimes. Whereas when you have all the time in the world, when you only have to do 2 shoots a month, and you're fine, and you have all this downtime, and there's no one telling you to work, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you don't do anything.
That's true.
It's tough.
I work probably 40 some odd more hours a week in my day job, and then I come home and do this, which One day I'll be able to just do this as my actual job, hopefully. But in the meantime, yeah, you kind of have to schedule it right. And then I come around to my days off, and I'm just like, I kind of really don't want to do anything today, man. And then I find myself, hating my days off and being like, I just really don't even need to take any days off because when I do, I don't do anything.
See, in 2006, I did all these Toyota commercials where I was like playing this like super like high school football fan, and which was so funny because I don't know anything about sports. I played football for a while, and then but I played football and soccer and stuff, and then kind of turned into a burnout and did more theater and stuff in the high school. But I actually played the sport, but I don't follow it. I never watched real games. Like I can't really do that. But I scored this role on these Toyota commercials. I was playing this like super crazy like football fanatic, and it was interesting. But the thing is, like, it paid so well that combined with me working at the music network and then doing acting jobs on the side, like there was like a good 2 years where like I was fine. Like I didn't really have to do anything like financially, and so
Right.
So maybe I worked like 2 days a week, and 2 or 3 days a week, and I'd go in but I had all this time off and equipment and stuff, but I was just having a good time and being like really young and dumb, and it was such a bummer because like I didn't really make anything when I had all the time. I mean, I made a few videos. I mean, we made videos maybe like once or two a month, but like we really should have taken that time to.
Nothing you can point back to and say, hey, look, no, I made this
Yeah.
when I had nothing to do.
Yeah. So it was.
This is what I can do when I'm able to put my full time and energy into something.
But I did have this have this moment because I always wanted to like act and stuff when I was a kid and be a performer and be able to live off that, like the idea like I remember like sometimes when I hire actors or models or stuff for music videos or commercials or films, I pay them. Like I have budgets, so I pay them, and their faces when they're like, "You're gonna pay me?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like I might not have, like budgets differ, but like I'm gonna at least make sure that you can like pay for your gas here and back and enough to have like dinner or whatever. Like I'm gonna give you money. So it's always like they always have this weird feeling like I'm getting paid to do what I love. And I remember there was like this 2-year mark whenever I was working at the music channel and doing commercials and stuff. I was like, wow, for the last 2 years, like I've lived off of just being me, and it was like this total stupid like actor moment. But I do miss it from time to time, but it's a hard thing to pursue, man. It really is. And
yeah, and to be fair, it's not exactly as though you are pressed for time.
Yeah, and it's and I'm not in LA either. It's weird in Austin. I won't knock on the Austin acting scene too much, but we only have X amount of filmmakers that work here all the time. It's always Linklater for the most part, Robert Rodriguez, Terrence Malick just got to the area and he's been doing a bunch of stuff here. But for the most part, I mean, those come and go. I think Tom Hanks is doing a movie here, and I know Transformers just did a bunch of stuff out in the outskirts. But the biggest bummer about any of that, as far as like local like actors in Austin, is as soon as someone has a line, they'll fly someone from LA in. Like I remember working on the CC's Pizza commercial when I was like younger, and they needed someone to say a line when they gave like the actor the tray. So they flew in this girl from LA.
Oh, wow.
Like, the day, and so we're on set. I'm talking to her, and she just has to say like, "Thanks, have a good day" or whatever. And so we're downtown eating lunch, and I'm talking to her. She's like, "Yeah, I just moved to LA from San Antonio." And I was like, "You're from here," So it's this big bummer where they don't trust us.
Yeah,
it's weird.
No, not particularly. Not with the SAG jobs.
Mm-hmm.
They'll trust you for stand-in work and extra work and crew work and everything they can hire locals for. But if it's anything they got to pay big bucks for, they're going to go back to L.A.
Yeah, definitely. But, it is what it is.
It's annoying. And until because we had that problem here in Shreveport because after Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans, all the major film companies that were down there, like all the Quentin Tarantino's films and a lot of the Gerard Butler films that have come out recently, White House Down, Play in the Field, all that good stuff.
Everything's in Louisiana.
Yeah, they were shot in Shreveport. And for probably about, I don't know, 2-3 years, this place was booming with them. But once New Orleans dried out, so did the movie scene in Shreveport.
That's how it goes, man. Like, Austin was booming for a while, and then I was after the hurricane that the Louisiana and New Mexico boosted through the roof, and no one was making movies here, and it turned into this huge deal. So you just never know. And everyone always ends up going back to Toronto. I don't know why.
Well, because it's not 114 degrees anytime ever.
Toronto is the New York that's not You York. They use Toronto to shoot New York all the time because it's just cheaper. Yeah. It's silly. What are you gonna do?
You got to raise the minimum wage of people who make movies. They don't make enough.
Or just give incentives. Well, you know what's funny is like there's all these
Georgia is the other big one that's leading the way and giving incentives to.
Let me just give some tips real quick to people that are trying to be actors, and maybe it might be different in LA. I've done stuff in LA, and I think it's just because here's the whole thing is I've been on both sides of the casting couch. Like I've been the person trying to get the job, and I've been the person like looking at the actor scene, like who's the best one for what we need. So like if you go in there and you read that like those sides and you're amazing, but you just don't have the look that they want, like don't take it personal.
Yeah,
you just don't have the look that they want. You're probably amazing, and there'll be something down the road that you'll get, and your time will come. But just don't take it too personal that you didn't get it. Don't let that be a reflection on you. That just means that because there's been so many times where I've sat around like afterwards to the directors, producers, and been like, she was great or he was great, but he just doesn't have the look, It doesn't, whatever. And everyone's like, yeah, exactly. So just don't take it personal, like, and it's so crazy when people like jump on these bandwagons and it's such an actor thing. Actor people sometimes drive me crazy, like the way they think and their lifestyle. Like, hey, let me just print a mug with my face on it, and then send it to the casting director. That's a good idea. And it's like, no,
that's unique.
It's the worst idea. They're gonna remember you as the mug guy, and then be like, oh god, this is the mug guy. Like,
speaking of interesting resumes, I think you have one of those stories too from the Journal. I kind of want to hear that real quick.
Really quick. Okay, so whenever I got the job being a VJ at this music channel, I had no agents. I didn't have, acting background or anything. I was just a kid living on a dream. So I went in there and I printed out a picture. I took a picture of myself in my apartment, and then I went down to like CVS or Eckerd's or whatever. No, it was CVS. Or probably Walgreens. Who cares? I just did a commercial for bunch of companies. Anyway,
could have been Rite Aid.
There you go. So I go to put the thing out, and I don't have a resume. I don't have like a bunch of movies or commercials I worked on at the time. So I just write this letter, and it's all handwritten as if it's from my mom, and it's like, JJ is so talented. Everyone, his friends are always saying how funny he is. He does a great blah 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 impression. He loves movies. It was this whole thing about how funny and awesome I was, but written from my mom. And
was it signed with hearts too? Please tell me it was signed with hearts too.
I think it was just signed. I think it was like signed Alma, JJ's mom.
And so obviously you got the job.
I got the job, which was tough, which was crazy because everyone else who got the job either hosted a radio show or it was like an actor or actress that had been in Sin City or something. Like they were well-known people, and I was literally just a waiter.
I hate to speculate other people's thoughts, but what do you think went through their brain when they saw that?
I have no idea. I seriously, something. They're like, that kid's got moxie. We better hire him on the spot. Give him a check right.
I like that kid. Get him in here right now. Give him your job if you have to.
Give him your job. Hey, kid. You own the company.
Hey, kid. I like you, kid.
This whole thing took place in the Bronx in 1957.
So one last question before we start to wind down here.
Yeah.
What have you learned over at Rooster Teeth that has kind of been able to be brought over to your stuff and vice versa? What have you learned from doing your stuff that goes to Rooster Teeth? Because it's all video, it's all interconnected.
I've definitely learned a lot of things. You learn working in a group. You learn, communicating like certain things because there's so many different wires that are connecting, and you try to say everyone's way, but at the same time, I gotta tell this horror story because I don't think I talked about it to anyone else. But the horror story is that I didn't understand. I didn't really get AH or anything when I first got there, and I was still like trying to catch up on things and watching back catalogs of stuff.
Right.
But so I'd always go into people's rooms and stuff, and I needed Lindsay for something. I needed some sort of video file. So Brandon's like, "Well, go talk to Lindsay." I'm like, "Where's Lindsay?" And he's like, "She's probably in the AH office." And this is probably Brandon most days, every day. "Hey, Brandon, blah blah blah. Yeah, she's probably over there." Like that's it. It's,
that's all you see. His best side. That's all you see.
Yeah. But no, he was like, "Go check the AH office." So I do, and so open the door. And I just see all the guys playing video games. Probably my first or second time in this office. And I don't understand that they're filming. I don't get that they're recording. So I just open the door, everyone's looking at me, and I just see Lindsay just got her cell phone out, and she's like filming, and she's looking at me like, "What the fuck are you doing in here?" And I just go, "Hey, Lindsay, I was looking for this file like Brandon said you had it." And she's like, "This is Lindsay." She's, get out of here. And it's like everyone's on their microphones, like they're still playing, but they're looking over like, "This is so funny." Like, Lily's getting yelled at.
Yeah.
But so like she yells at me to get out, and I remember like closing the door, and I'm standing there just like a receptionist, and I'm just like mortified, like, oh.
That's when you should have stepped in and pulled the camera feeds and then edited those in over top.
But
I feel like that would have been hysterical.
But I was really afraid that I made a bunch of enemies, and then Jeff hired me at AH. So I guess he liked something in my stupidity.
He liked your moxie, kid. He liked your moxie.
It was. Oh, I remember being like so mortified and being like, "Oh my god, everyone's gonna be talking about me. Like, they're all so stupid. That you guy JJ's so fucking retarded." But
I'm gonna be the guy who can't keep offset when they're rolling.
But I realized at RT, the great thing about RT is if you fuck up or if you do something stupid, rest assured that in the 24-hour radius, somebody else will do something else.
And it'll be worse.
And no one will remember that. It'll be worse. Because that's a true statement.
Gavin will try and do a front flip for no reason and just bust his face open, or try and jump over his own legs, or
there'll be a dead bird in the parking lot, and we'll all have to leave our offices to go look at it.
Because you have to.
We're all very much 8 years old.
It's the best way to be, though, really. And I think that's quite frankly why that office works as well as it does, is because everyone kind of has a live and let live-ish, but we're going to make fun of you for it attitude.
It's very true. Oh, I know you're winding down. I'm going to show you some. I brought some props. Just to give you a little bit more idea of who.
Again, with the show and the tell.
Who is JJ? Who is this guy?
Indeed.
So these are my two idols. These are the two people I look up to, and that is. This is Elvis Costello, and this is Andy Kaufman. And
sure enough is.
And I love this picture of Andy Kaufman because this is a very well-known Costello picture. Like, there's T-shirts and posters of this picture. It's very famous. This, on the other hand, looks like I was at Kaufman's house and I shot him, like, with a camera, like, at his house. It's very candid, and it's one of my, like, favorite finds. But yes, I love them both because he's just a great singer-songwriter, and a bunch of the music he made in the 70s and 80s is amazing, and Kaufman was just really good at fucking with the audience. And you probably see more Kaufman in me as an editor, like, or just like an RT person. Like, I'm the guy that will blur out Michael's house in a Let's Build and pretend that the blur is letting you not know that it's Michael's house, even though we all know that it's Michael's house. And that was really funny, getting so many messages from people being like, we knew that it was Michael's house. Was that on purpose? Like, was that a joke? Did you not know? And it was so, come on now. But yes, and then I talked about this on one of the podcasts the other day, but with the Crash Pod, the Crash Podcast is that not many people know this, but I made a Reddit account specifically to pretend to be a person that was pretending to be me.
Okay.
So I would leave. So I would leave comments as if I was someone pretending to be JJ, and people would like. It's harder.
No,
than
you just broke the acting
think,
part
actually.
of my brain. That's so meta.
It's some pretty intense trolling. And I didn't realize how good of a job I was doing until someone posted a post with all the RT members and their Reddit accounts, and then they had me listed under that account, and then someone came and exited out and said, "No, that's not the real JJ." So yeah, that.
I don't know whether that means you were doing a good job or a bad job. Maybe both.
I was really upset. I was sad not to be like part of the group with all our like names together, but at the same time, I was like, well, I did it to myself, and well, you're doing that good of a job. Well, so yeah, what can you say? This is a really great photo. I've seen a lot of magazines, and I've seen a few like prints of it in Austin bars and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's this guy John Pacina took it. This is my buddy Mike Wiebe. He's the lead singer of the Riverboat Gamblers. They're on Volcom Records. Good friend of mine. Known him for years. Uh-huh. And this is me jumping up at his like concert, and like I'm higher than anyone else. Like I'm like superhuman higher than everybody else. It's crazy, but like the fact is that we're such good friends that like the fact that someone captured this on camera, like I've toured with them. They're good buddies. It's one of my favorite things in the world. This is a Daniel Johnston.
It's amazing when you can get.
It's true.
It's amazing when you can get that just right shot.
Yeah, and it's not you. Whenever someone else does it, you're always a little bit amazed. This is a Daniel Johnston picture that he drew specifically for the music video I directed with him. And if you know anything about Daniel Johnston, he drew the "Hi, how are you" frog over on the drag on Austin. It's really famous. There's a bunch of shirts of it and stuff. He was an artist, and there's a documentary that Sony released on it. It's called The Devil and Daniel Johnston, because he wrote a bunch of music, and his music, like, it's great, but it's awful. Like, he recorded it, like, in the garage, and his voice isn't that great, and the sounds are all over the place.
Right.
But the melodies and the music itself are genius. So what has happened is people like Eddie Vedder, Conor Oberst, the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, like all these famous people have covered his music.
Right.
And he's kind of known for being a little bit of a loon, like not being too stable. But so the fact that I went out to like his like middle nowhere town in Texas and shot a music video with him is like a huge, and I'm alive, is a huge testament.
Right.
And then
eccentricities can go both ways. They can be great, and they can also be
every
very
now and
terrible.
then an artist does something really crazy or says something really crazy. But the whole thing is that my favorite artists have always been a little bit crazy. I don't want normal artists. I want like a Salvador Dali or like a Vincent Van Gogh or even like a Phil Spector, dare I say it? People that are just fucking nuts. Woody Allen. Yeah. People that you're like respectively in your personal life. Polanski. I can't get behind that. But I do love your art. And I always tell people that like
well, you can have a separation of the person and the products that they produce.
Totally.
There's a word for being able to hold two opposing ideas in your head at the same time, and I can't think of it right now, and it's going to come to me later, and I'm going to put it up right there. And so, but whatever that is, dissonance. Anyway, it becomes really difficult to be able to kind of separate it, but if you can, then you can have a greater appreciation for that person's work, because you can like, even through all of this crap that he was doing, he made, every Woody Allen movie that has ever come out.
Yeah. Exactly.
It came out from that.
And that's why I'm against people going back to their films and re-editing them. Because, like for instance, a couple of films I'm working on right now, like when I wrote them, and even when I shot them, like when I wrote them, I was in a weird place, like maybe in a relationship, in love, or maybe just out of relationship, and like torn, my like heart was torn. And what came out of that was that moment and those feelings, and that's who I was at that moment, And so I want to go back 2 years later while I'm happy, or maybe 10 years later, maybe I'm married and have kids and stuff, and I want to go back to this movie and change it because I don't feel like it feels like me anymore. Like, fuck that. Like, you shouldn't be able to.
Of course it doesn't feel like you anymore, because it's not.
It's like when Spielberg went back to E.T., and he took the guns out of the soldiers' hands when they're chasing the kids, and he put walkie-talkies, because he digitally put the walkie-talkies, because he was like, well, it just seems wrong. And it's like, well, yeah, because you're older now and you have kids. Like, the time you fucking hated the government. You were, like, super, like, anti-this, anti that. So of course, like, you shouldn't...
You were like, the government's coming to get you.
You shouldn't be able to do
it. And that message... message should still be able to hold true. Once a product leaves its creator's hands, it's gone. It's done. It's out of your hands and is now to be devoured by the public and to be opinionated about by the public and to be debated about by... It's not your responsibility.
And that is the most frightening moment as a filmmaker or an editor or just anyone in this process. Mostly it's when it's all you, when it's something you've written, directed, and stuff. Like, it's the most scariest moment is hitting the export and knowing that this is your final cut. Like, this is it. Like, there's no going back. This is, I'm hitting, man, I might have shot this for a month. I might have shot this for a year. Like, this is exporting it. This is it. I'm going to put this on the internet. And as soon as I put it on the internet, I can never go back.
You feel that hollowness, that emptiness, that postpartum...
It's fucking frightening. It's frightening.
That comes from letting go of something and hoping, praying
especially
that it'll have
moment,
legs.
You know that this video could be 20 different videos. You know that maybe if I let this shot hang longer, or maybe instead of putting that shot, I use this shot, or maybe I use that shot, or maybe like that shot like is over here. Yep. It could be 20 different things, and you know it because you've seen it in all the different ways. So when you're an export, you're committing to that idea, and it's fucking frightening. And I always tell people, because people always release, I do it too, where you release it and your friends like it because they have no idea. They have no idea all the other 20 ways it could have been, or fans like it, or the internet likes it. But in your head, you're always like, well, I dropped the ball on that scene, or this shot was supposed to be better, or there was another version, but it got fucked up.
I thought it would be funny to use the regular scary music, but maybe I should have juxtaposed it with the happy ballerina music instead. That would have been funnier.
And you can't go back, and it's always a super scary thing. But I always tell filmmakers and friends the same thing, which is, you know what, like, you're not gonna love it right now because it's too close and it's too warm and you know what it could have been. Exactly.
The body is still fresh.
Wait 6 months. Work on other videos. Do like 2 or 3 other videos where you feel you dropped the ball even more, even though you probably didn't. And then go back and watch that video, and you're gonna go, oh my god, I was so in the zone here. Like how, and everything's like under these rose, what do they call them, like rose glasses.
Rose glasses.
There you go. Like it's always better in retrospect, and sometimes you have to work on other projects before you can look at your other projects and go, wow, this is actually really good for what it is.
Yeah, exactly. And you can kind of use that to pull yourself out of a slump if you need to.
Oh, it's very true.
Sometimes if you're like, I can't.
Whenever I'm hitting my biggest roadblocks in life, I go back and watch my public access show from whenever I was like 16, 17. And I'm looking at these. I'm like, these are 30-minute episodes with like 2 fake commercials every episode, like a musical guest. Like, these jokes are hilarious, and you're like 16, 17, and then you just go, well, if he had it then I can do this. I can do this.
Yeah, I can do this. I got this. Oh, hey, that kind of transition might be useful in a thing over. Oh my god, exactly. And it just kind of, you end up taking ideas from other places, and you never know where that spark is going to come from.
Takashe.
So you might as well take that time and just look at everything. Let your brain wander for a minute. That's very useful, I have found.
It's a true story.
So I think that now we're rounding out our program a little bit here, and I've always enjoyed the Inside the Actor Studio method of ending on a questionnaire, so I too have reappropriated the Proust questionnaire, and it goes a little something like this. JJ, what's your favorite word?
My favorite word would have to probably be juxtaposition. As a J and a double J person myself, I love J words.
It's a fantastic word.
It's a great letter, too, and juxtaposition is a lot of fun to say.
Yeah. What's your least favorite word?
Ooh, my least favorite word would probably be, I don't know, disappointment.
Dig it. If what hero or heroine do you identify with the most?
With hero or heroine, the two people I've always, well, probably Max Fisher from Rushmore, which was, it was, who played him? It was Jason Schwartzman. And he just wants to make plays and be artsy and really silly, and he's misunderstood. So I like him.
What villain or villainess?
Oh, that's great. Villain or villainous? Villain or villainous? This is tough. Will you hum a song? Will you hum a song or something so it's not so quiet right now? I knew you were gonna go with that song.
Oh wait, no, yeah, I can't because that's copywritten and I'll probably get sued.
So, yeah, then you can't get ads on this video.
JJ needs to hurry up with his decision. Yeah.
Let's see, villain. I love fucking villains, man. Probably. Rorschach isn't a villain, but he's fucking rad.
Anti-heroes we will accept in this case.
I like Rorschach. There we go.
Dig it. What turns you on, either creatively, spiritually, emotionally?
People who can...
Everyone always giggles. I don't get why.
Because we're 8. Let's see. Yeah. I would say what turns me on, people who you can bounce ideas off of. People where you feel like, I'm going to throw this at you, and they're able to roll it. People who you can walk up and start a conversation mid-conversation, and instead of freaking out, they just go with it, and like you're their friend. And that's how I meet a lot of people. And when I was single, back when I was younger and stuff, that's when I met most girls would just go up and start talking, and I'm like, we're already in mid-conversation, and they'll roll with it. And people like that. I hate showstoppers. I hate people where I've done a lot of interviews in my life, and I'll give people easy questions, and they'll always give you it was fun, and you're like, thanks. I asked you a 1-minute question.
Yeah, it's a trick, really. It is to be able to kind of pull things out. I don't know why I'm doing the anal bead pulling, but you kind of have to be very gentle about the way you coax information out of people, because sometimes if they're not used to being on camera or being themselves in such a public forum as this, they can freeze up and not want to give you anything of value. And
going back to
it was fun.
Interest and turn me on or whatever. It's always.
Yeah. I get it now.
Girls that talk about film knowledge and they know their shit. Like when you go to film festivals and you walk out of a movie and you hear them going, well, so-and-so directed it, but blah, blah, blah wrote it, but it was actually based on blah, 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 and that blah, blah, blah was a reference to whatever, and you're sitting outside after the movie going, marry me. You're but the whole thing, the whole thing with the double-edged sword is I have no interest in ever dating a female filmmaker. I like people that enjoy the art form, but maybe they're musicians, or they do something else, or they're journalists or whatever. But I can never ever date another filmmaker because I'm so I'm such an artist to myself that God forbid they say they don't like something, and they have the background where they could.
You say that now, and one day, hello, future JJ, as you're watching this with your wife who's a filmmaker and your kids all saying that it was never going to happen. Hi, how's it going? My name's Tim. I'm a new friend.
Egg on my face.
Yeah. So, what turns you off?
Turns me off? Cynicism. It's the same thing Conan said. Conan, I think he when he left NBC on his last show, he said, "Don't be cynical. It's the one trait people I don't like." And I hate that. And people that are resentful, I've had a lot of friends. I like being taken down a peg. If I was on an ABC show and I'm walking around hey, I was on ABC, blah blah blah, and my friends are like, dude, shut the fuck up and go get us a beer. And I'm like, yeah, all right,
Okay, no problem. I'll be right back. How many do you want?
But a lot of my friends have nothing to do with the industry. They're just my friends. And we go out and we'll have drinks and stuff, and talk about life and throw ideas around. But yeah, so every now and then you run into people that are just so cynical or resentful about you. Well, they'll make jokes about you, and they're like, "Oh, I'm just joking." And you're like, "Well,
are you though?"
Starting to, are you though?
Yeah.
And And I just say, because sometimes, like, you know, like some of my friends, I'm like, well, if you were doing really cool things, then I could pick on you too, but you're not. So I'm sorry.
There it is. And that's the best
But, so,
retort to have.
yeah, yeah. But anyone who's just got a bad attitude about stuff, or like, as soon as you throw out an idea, like, we should do this, like, we should make this video, like, they're already going negative with it. Like, well, no, it'll cost too much money, and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, well, you know, shit on my parade.
Exactly. Fuck me for trying to have an idea. Seriously.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry. Apologize.
What other talent, other than the ones you've already been obviously gifted with, would you like to have?
I love music. Like, I love music. But I'm not able to play it. And I surround myself with music and musicians. A lot of my friends are musicians. I try to live that lifestyle as much as possible. And if that means like going on like tours with bands, and like sometimes they're, I've gotten to party with Modest Mouse at their hotel, and they didn't even sleep there, so they let us sleep there, in like their fancy hotel. This was like in Cincinnati. I was with this band, Morning Teleportation. I was touring with this band, Morning Teleportation, who later was signed by Isaac, and then they were on Letterman and stuff. And it was so crazy seeing them on Letterman, because I was thinking in my head, these kids 9 months ago were sleeping on my floor, and I was buying them dollar burgers at Burger King so they wouldn't starve. And now they're on fucking Letterman. But I did their first video.
There they are, on my TV. I can see them right now.
Yes, I love music. I surround myself with music. I'm always playing music in my headphones. When I'm walking around the office, I'm listening out on my phone. Like, I love having a soundtrack to my life and score. And my biggest downfall is that I've never been able to play that well. I played trumpet and stuff when I was like 6th grade.
Right.
6th, 7th grade.
Yeah,
but,
I had violin about the same time.
Yeah. And I've dated a few musicians and people that have been in bands, and they're just so talented. And I always hate it because I'll spend like days practicing on like keyboards or something, and like learning these songs. And I'm really putting time, and it's taking me a lot of effort. And then someone will just come up and be like, "Oh, cool keyboards." No, I don't play. I don't really. No, but they're just like going, and you're like, "You're so much better than me." And I
so much better than I will ever be.
And I have this theory that good artists, will never be happy with their abilities. They're always going to want to pull something else. There's someone, because I love filming and editing and being a photographer, but there's a part of me that just really wants to be able to play music so bad, and I'm awful at it. And that's the thing, is like, there's someone who's really great at music, but they're like, but I really just want to be a photographer, and you're like, man, but you're awful. So
exactly.
So you really,
and the grass is. I don't know whether it's in the case of the grass is always greener on the other side, because, quite frankly, you're doing pretty well as a filmmaker. I don't know that you'd want to try it as a musician. But it's definitely a case of wanting to collect all the things.
No, it's true.
Wanting to have every skill.
It's true. But there's something, I was talking to my friend Jenny about it, and she used to be in this band called the Wild White Lights, and she plays keyboard, and she's fucking awesome. But yeah. She was talking about, this is why covers are so awesome, because like there's this Harry Nilsson song that I always play on every piano, and I've only learned it. That's like one of the only songs I know. But the thing is, like, if there's an old piano in a bar or someone's house, I can sit down and play it, and it's a beautiful fucking song. And everyone's just always like, it's really nice,
What else can you play?
That's I think the opening to Game of Thrones, and I think
I'm saying that's the next question usually. After you finish the song, the next question. What else can you play?
And you're like, nothing really. Maybe.
No. I'm not going to sit here and play the Legend of Zelda theme in a bar.
Or chopsticks. But I was talking to her, and she was telling me, like, I was like, there's something about loving a song, because the song obviously moves me, and when I hear it, it makes me feel certain ways. So the ability to feel that song come out of your fingers, to feel that song, like, the song's waiting on you to press the rest of the song. And there's this great feeling that comes with it, and that's why she plays a bunch of shows like at bars and diners where she just plays covers while people like hang out. And she's like, well, that's why playing covers is so fun. Like, can you imagine sitting around and playing like a Radiohead song or like a Dresden Doll song or whatever, and just playing something and it's coming out of you. And there's like this, I get it. It's a buzz.
Like the statue in the marble. It's there. It's just waiting on you to find it.
Yeah, there you go. I love that.
And so what sound or noise do you love?
I think everyone loves the sound of glass breaking.
That is a wonderful noise. I was not expecting that. Yeah. What sound or noise do you hate?
Oh geez, obviously a knife and a fork on a plate.
Yeah, that's a bad one. Sorry, you put that image in my head. Thanks for doing that.
And everyone else.
Oh, that hurts. What's your favorite curse word?
I guess fuck. That's everyone's, right? You fucking fuck.
Yeah, that's my favorite as well. It's just so multifaceted.
You can use it for so many different things. So, I mean, after working at RT for so long, I didn't know that dicks was so versatile. I didn't know it could be a verb and a noun. Even an adjective.
I mean, it goes with Smurf, basically.
Yeah.
As in everywhere that you could use the word Smurf, you can use the word dicks, and you can also use the word...
Oh my god, wait. So we started this call an hour and 20 minutes ago, correct? Give or take.
Give or take.
Man, it's so funny because I watched the one with you and Caleb, and it skipped around, and I was like, this was like an hour. I would never want to be on camera for an hour. Like, it would be cringeworthy. The whole thing would be cringeworthy. So the fact that we've gone over an hour, like, now I feel awful. So we should probably...
We're almost done here, I promise. Just barrel through it a little bit longer.
Don't make it to the end.
Where would you one day like to live?
Oh, geez. I would love to live in New York in an old building with one of those elevators that you pull the cargo door open on before you can walk in. My biggest dream, my dream house, everyone always has like dream house and stuff. Like when I think of dream house, I think of me like as an artist creating stuff, like my perfect place. I don't think of being older and having kids and like, living in the country and shit.
Yeah. No, I feel you.
My dream
You're
house,
having your ultimate house at 40, not at 65.
Yeah. So my dream house would be like kind of like that, like what's in a building, an old brick building where you go to your, like you don't have a door, you have a elevator, then you open and you walk in, and it would just be like like my motorcycle pulled up against the wall, like everything, like the tub is just kind of exposed out in the middle of nowhere, like gear all over the place, like lights are up. I love having like my film lights like around the house, like all over the place. Like it looks like you're on a set at all times. And I want to have a living room.
Yeah, just Licos and Parns everywhere.
Yeah. It's true. But I want to have my living room. I want it to look like a living room. Like if you're looking at it, it looks like walls and pictures frames on the walls and stuff, and a couch and a TV. But if you go behind the living room, you can see that it's all set. Like it's wood holding up like the living room. I want to have a living room set in my house, and then just a big workspace everywhere.
That's awesome. And then of course back there behind the set, that's where you have to put like a snack table. Obviously, you have to have craft services.
But I one of the things I've always wanted, and I did have this in my old houses, was a war room, which was it was like pull down maps, and those were my blinds, like pull down maps of like Europe and stuff, and I wanted like lights above and like all these TV screens, and I just wanted to feel like a war room.
That's awesome. That's supremely awesome. I dig that. Yeah, no. Wow, I'm just like big scrolls. They come down like the rolly blinds. They roll up and just whoosh.
Today it's Poland.
Oh man,
we're grabbing Poland today.
That's awesome. Okay, so our last question here.
All right.
If you had a choice, how long would it take you to respawn after you died?
What's the average? Like 6 seconds? Is that like Halo or Team Fortress 2? Or can I just hit that? Can I just hit the X button?
I think it's 3 in Halo and 6. Yeah, no, you can do whatever you want.
I will say, let me say this, that like when you die in multiplayer, one of the things I do like before respawning, it depends on the game, but it puts you in this weird, you're watching other people play sometimes. Like, I know Team Fortress 2 does that. So I like controlling the camera. Like I like seeing guys run down other guys, and I like being like the director of photography, and like people will be stuck in an elevator, and I'll just keep it spinning. So it's just like this intense, like, what's gonna happen? And I'm just like, I don't know. It's like if I could watch,
maybe it would be fun.
If I could watch multiplayer,
maybe it'd be fun to see the kill cam for the person who got you.
Exactly. Oh, I would love that. Like if I could machinima multiplayer and just shoot it, I would probably enjoy that more than playing the game. That's true. Right now, I'm playing a lot of Trials. I'm playing a lot of Trials right now.
Oh yeah, just for fun?
I just got it recently, and I'm obsessed with because Jordan and I sit next to each other in the annex, and so we always give each other shit. But I'm obsessed because after every game it shows me the scores of my friends, and he's always beating me. So now like my obsession is to beat Jordan. So he's been getting all these he's getting all these text messages at like 2 a.m. Where it's me like holding up my score beating his.
And that right there is what sparked the first Achievement Hunter race between Bernie and Jeff. It's stuff like that leads to greatness.
Another thing is, I wonder, someone should do a count on how many times I say true story. But I do want to say that in one of the other podcasts, I forget which one it was. I think it was Crash. One of the questions they asked me, I was like, well, ask me some questions because I have to head out a bit. So let me know what you need to ask. Mm-hmm. And they're like, what hair product do you use?
Apparently, that's a popular one.
I see that a lot on Twitter, and the whole thing is one of my ex-girlfriends. She's a hairstylist. She travels. She goes on tour with bands. She's kind of high up there with in the hairstylist world. But when we were together, she told me that the less that you wash your hair, like actually use product in it, like the more you get like these like like natural oils and they build up, and that's fine. So I was telling them just don't wash your hair. But I think I might have sent the wrong message. And the thing is, still take showers. Don't be grubby and gross. Still take care of yourself. Just maybe don't use shampoo and conditioner every day. But if you work out, definitely. And I hate that I have to say this, but I'm so afraid that so many kids are going to start running around not showering, and I don't want to start that trend.
All grimy and gross and coming up to you for RTX 2014. I did what you said for an entire year! And the entire convention just gets knocked out by noxious fumes.
I learned it from watching you!
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's exactly the best place to wrap up. Well done, JJ. Thank you for giving me the closing there. My name is Tim Leftwich. You've been watching this on youtube.com/Tim Leftwich. His name is JJ. Do you have anything to plug?
Yes, I gotta plug this charger, and I'm gonna shoot later. But besides that, good times were had by all.
Your Twitter account is JoseJonesFilms?
Yeah, that's it. It's just my Twitter, my Vine, and my Instagram are all JoseJonesFilms. And then I've got just search Jose Jones, and it's usually all my stuff.
Make it nice and easy for branding purposes.
I do want to plug one thing. I do have a short coming out that in the next couple of weeks. It's a short. It's called That Second. It was shot with Falcon Potticki, who's a really well-known model. She's never acted in anything really, so it was nice to kind of, take her out of her comfortable shell. But it's just a really it's just a really fun, free-loving video about two kids. They're super young. And it's the whole idea is that whole feeling of being like 19 and being young and
that feeling.
Yeah, that feeling. The movie's called That Second, so it's that whole idea about that feeling is just being young and naive and thinking the love and fun stuff is all you need, and it's totally not true. Yeah. As you grow up, you find out, but while you're young and you can appreciate those moments, it's nice to have those. So that's what the short is. It's just it's me experimenting with doing more narrative stuff. So it's just a big kind of experiment for me. But that'll be coming out in the next couple of weeks.
That sounds delightful, and I've had a trailer down there playing for a couple seconds now. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. And as always, we'll see you next time.